Hey there. So in this lecture we're going to learn about variables. Variables, as you can say, is a data type, or you can say a data structure, which is used to store some information. So this information can be in the form of numbers, characters, or even text, and we decide that. So there are some things and interesting things related to syntax of Python and the concept of variables itself we need to learn in order to proceed. So let's look at an example. What if I write a is equals to 4 and shift plus enter? Okay, so this shows me that I have stored a value, the number 4, into the variable a. But there must be a way to actually visualize the value stored in the variable a. So there must be a way to print or at least visualize the value that we have stored. To do that, there are basically two ways. The first way is to enter a and run it. So it gives us the terminal output of a4, which concludes the fact that we have actually stored the number 4. Let's say we go for a is equals to 5 and a, and so we go here. So now the value is 5 and it's not 4. So what happened here is that the value 4 was overwritten by the value 5, which shows us that a variable can only store one value at a time. So this is the limitation for using a variable. So let's look at two variables now. Let's store 10 in the variable a and 12 in the variable b. So after doing that, what would happen if I copy a onto b and I print a, and a is now 12, and the value of a is overwritten by the value of b, and the value of b is still 12. Okay, so now we have seen that we can copy the value by using the equal sign of variables. So not only we can write constants like numbers into variables, we can also write other variables into these variables. So the value is being copied from variable b to variable a. So coming to the concept of variables, there are different ways we can name our variables. So naming of variables. So how do we name our variables? Obviously we can name them as you just saw, like characters, but there are certain rules we need to follow. The first rule is that variables are case sensitive. What I mean by case sensitive is that a is not equal to, when a is equal to 90 and I print out a, however a is equal to, which would be equal to 100, would be 100, and this a is not equal to that a, and we can prove that by, you can say, printing the value a. So the value of small a is still 90 and the value of capital A is 100, which shows that even though they have the same meaning in terms of English alphabets, because of their capitalization and case sensitivity, they are basically different variables. So a, small a, and capital A are entirely different variables. So let's move on and try different names of variables. So we have seen the case sensitivity. Let's see different variable names I can assign. Okay, so a1 is equals to 2. Is this a variable? Yeah, it seems to be a variable. So b1, b2, is b2 a variable? Yes, it definitely is a variable. So what we're learning over here is that the numbers coming after characters can actually serve as variable names. So we have seen that. So let's see if we increase the numbers. Okay, 2, 3, 1, 4, 9, 6, 7. Can this still be a variable? And it is still 45. So even this long and insensible and meaningless variable name is still a variable. So we have seen that. So another point I need to add, it doesn't matter if I use this variable to print the value over here or here. It serves the same function. Okay, so it's not necessary to actually mention this right below the assignment statement, and you can see you can do that in the next cell as well. So now we have seen that we can name the variables in a certain way that numbers can always succeed the characters. So what if I write like this? What if I write a number before the character and assign a number to it? Is this a variable? Let's find out. Okay, so Google Colab has given us an error, and it's saying that it is not a variable, and the error is that it is an invalid syntax. So the Python syntax, although it allows that the numbers can succeed the characters, it does not allow that numbers can precede the characters. So this is a syntax error, and we cannot do that. We have seen numbers and characters. Can we use symbols like asterisk or as a variable? Unfortunately, we cannot do that. The at the rate of symbol cannot be used as a variable. Okay, so now I'm thinking whether we can use different symbols, or is it the same with every symbol? So yeah, I guess this is the same with every symbol except for one particular symbol, and that is underscore. So I've written underscore, and I'm now going to assign a value. So what do you think? What's going to happen now? Is this going to be a syntax error, or is this going to go successful? By the look of things, it must be a syntax error. Unfortunately, this is not an error. So underscore in the language of Python is a valid variable name. So this is something important, and you need to remember this, because many things that you can mention, this is one of the unique ways of this particular language. Although the same concept is being followed in C++, but most people don't know that, and they overlook this minor thing. But it is quite fun, and it's unique because it's like, what is the intuition behind using an underscore as a variable name? Although there is an intuition behind it, but I won't get into that because that is something that has to do with the concept of dummy variables and dummy return values of Python functions. But let's just assume that this is the capability of the Python language, that it allows an underscore to be a variable. Okay, so now we have seen the variable names, case sensitivity concept, and how we can assign values to different variables, and we can copy value from one variable to another variable. There is another concept. Let's discuss about that. What if I write 9 and I write b is equals to 89, and b is equals to 89, and I write let's print out a and b. So in this way, I should be able to print out both of these variables, right? The value of both of these variables. Okay, so something's wrong over here. I was not able to view the value of a. Okay, so that is a problem. So which means that I have to write b in a different cell in order to view both of these values. I have to run that cell again. Okay, so now I was able to do that. But this seems to be a bit unproductive. Every time if you want to visualize different values of different variables, it doesn't mean that you have to write those variables in different cells. That is a very counterproductive and impractical to do. So now we're going to look at another output function of Python, which is the default function of Python, and it is quite popular. Like, it is the most basic functions. It's the print function. And another note I want to add regarding two different things. There are two different ways we can write the print function, and it depends upon the, you can say, the Python version. So let's go with Python 3 version. And even though there are different versions of Python, I would suggest that you learn the most recent one and the most latest one and use that. Even though there are many courses that are based on Python 2, but I wouldn't suggest that, because the advancements in technology is the nature of innovation. So whenever a new version comes, whenever a new language is introduced, you need to learn that, because that will ultimately take over the previous one, and the previous one will become obsolete. And an obsolete technology and the knowledge of that would also become obsolete. So I'm going to give you in this video how we're going to write Python 2 for print function so that you can get an idea. But later on, I will not be going to teach you Python 2 along with Python 3, even though the only difference among them is a couple of syntax and new calling functions and libraries. But still, let's focus on Python 3 because this is the future. Okay, so let's see. If we want to print A and I want to print B as well, I can do it in the same cell. I can do it using the print command, I now have printed the variable values. Okay, so even though this is a bit counterproductive, every time I have to print a variable, I have to write the print statement all again. And when you're deep in coding, whenever you're working on a project, it becomes quite annoying and frustrating to keep on writing print statements. So Python has given us the flexibility to do it in a much more productive way. What we can do is we can write a comma b, and this is how we can print both variables in the same sentence. Now we have seen that 9 and 89 is printed in the same sentence. Okay, so now you have seen how we can print two values using comma. Using the same concept, can we do this? So yeah, actually we can. Let's run it. Okay, so print AB. Okay, yeah, it works. So this is a compact way of assigning variables. Like I said, it is there to improve productivity, to reduce our lines of code, to reduce our cells. We can do this in a much more efficient way. So like I said, I'm going to tell you about Python 2 as well. So let's see how we can write the print function in Python 2. So it's basically something like this. Okay,